Long before Tom Cruise was jumping on Oprah's couch or lecturing Matt Lauer about psychiatry, there was another A-list actor who held the crown as Scientology's golden boy, John Travolta. The perfect Hollywood smile, the charismatic laugh, the intense gaze that could switch from charming to eerily focused in an instant. That was Travolta back then, a clean image, perfect for a cult looking to upgrade its PR. Most people today probably think of Scientology and immediately picture Tom Cruise with his intense energy and unwavering loyalty. But long before Cruise became the poster child for the Church of Scientology, it was John Travolta who first brought the Hollywood glamour to L. Ron Hubbard's controversial organization nearly 50 years ago. The star of Saturday Night Fever and Grease wasn't just another celebrity in the church, he was the celebrity, setting the stage for how Scientology would use famous faces to gain power, legitimacy, and a steady flow of new members. Today we're taking a deep dive into Travolta's decades-long relationship with Scientology, from how he was recruited as a struggling young actor in 1975 to becoming the religion's biggest asset, only to eventually watch as Tom Cruise took the spotlight as the church's favorite Hollywood disciple. Born in Englewood, New Jersey on February 18, 1954, John Travolta was the youngest of 6 children. His father, Salvatore, was a second-generation Italian-American who worked as a semi-professional football player before becoming a tire salesman. His mother, Helen Cilicia, had been an actress and singer who later became a high school drama and English teacher. Young John grew up in what he called an Irish-American neighborhood, with his household being predominantly Irish in culture despite his father's Italian heritage. He was raised Catholic initially, a detail that becomes important when we trace his later religious conversion. Even as a teenager, Travolta was consumed by the desire to perform. With his parents' permission, he dropped out of school at 16 to pursue an acting career in New York. There, he started off with small roles on Broadway, but eventually made his way to Los Angeles, hoping to land some TV gigs. His early screen career saw him appearing in shows like Emergency, The Rookies, and Medical Center in the early 1970s. But everything would change for him in 1975 when he scored the role of Vinnie Barbarino in the sitcom Welcome Back, Kotter. It was around this time, right as his career was about to take off, that Travolta crossed paths with Scientology. In 1975, the 21-year-old actor was in Mexico shooting his first film, The Devil's Reign, a low-budget horror flick. While on set, he became friends with actress Joan Prather, who noticed that Travolta wasn't exactly thriving. She saw he was really struggling and unhappy, so she started talking about how Scientology had helped her. She even gave him a copy of Dianetics, the book by Scientology's founder, L. Ron Hubbard. When Travolta got back to Los Angeles, he dove into Scientology, taking courses at the Celebrity Center, a special spot created just for famous people. It was founded by Australian Scientologist Yvonne Gillam, who realized that to attract creatives, the church needed to offer something tailored to them. The Celebrity Center became a place where celebs were treated like royalty, showered with praise and gently nudged into more courses, lectures, and auditing sessions.
A Scientologist for over 30 years, and it's something that, as you know, without it, I wouldn't be where I am.
He was hooked right away. On his very first course, the Hubbard Qualified Scientology course, he confided in his teacher, Sandy Kent, that he was about to audition for a show called Welcome Back, Kotter. According to people who were there, Kent told the class to point toward ABC Studios and telepathically send a message, "We want John Travolta for the part." When Travolta landed the role of Vinnie Barbarino, the one that would launch his career, he credited Scientology for his success. In a church publication, he proudly said, "My career immediately took off. Scientology put me in the big time. That win made him even more certain that the religion could work magic in his life and career. And the timing was spot on. Just as Travolta joined Scientology, his career took off.
Happen in the press now in my life that I feel could damage me, because I've dealt with the very best sinners and the very worst sinner.
After Welcome Back, Kotter, he became unforgettable as Billy Nolan in the 1976 horror film Carrie. Then came the roles that would define his career: Tony Manero in Saturday Night Fever and Danny Zuko in Grease. These films turned him into a global superstar. Saturday Night Fever even earned him an Academy Award nomination for Best Actor at just 24, making him one of the youngest nominees in history. By 1978, John Travolta was one of the biggest movie stars in the world. As Travolta's fame skyrocketed, so did his importance to Scientology. The church assigned Sylvia Spanky Taylor, a young and energetic Sea Org member, to be his liaison. She was basically the person who managed Travolta's relationship with both his fans and the church. She attended tapings of his TV show, went with him to public appearances, and even convinced Paramount Pictures to buy him a big block of Scientology auditing as a birthday gift. Through Taylor, Travolta began introducing other actors to Scientology, like Forrest Whitaker, Tom Berenger, Patrick Swayze, and Mikhail Baryshnikov. But out of all these recruits, only Priscilla Presley stuck with the church long term. Taylor became a visible symbol of Travolta's dedication to Scientology and of the church's investment in his growing fame. But while his career was soaring, Travolta's personal life faced a heartbreaking turn. In 1976, he started dating actress Diana Hyland, whom he met while filming The Boy in the Plastic Bubble. Tragically, Hyland passed away from breast cancer in March 1977 at just 41. He was devastated, so he turned to Scientology for support. The teachings and techniques of the church became his way of processing his grief. This pattern of leaning on Scientology during difficult times would continue throughout his life. As he told Larry King in 2001, "Life is overwhelming, life is not easy, life is tough, and you need something that really works and helps you actually, not promises to help you, then fail."
And I thought I was tough. I thought I was, with all the loss I'd been through. Crying, you have to do. I mean, just don't bypass that.
And that's why I've always loved Scientology, because it offers help and it works. Then he threw himself into his work. While his Hollywood career kept climbing, things were shifting at the top of Scientology too. In 1986, L. Ron Hubbard, the founder of Scientology, passed away, and David Miscavige took over as the new leader, with the title Chairman of the Board of the Religious Technology Center. This change in leadership came at a time when Travolta's career was starting to hit some bumps. After a string of successful films in the late 70s, the 80s brought some commercial and critical flops. It wasn't until 1989's Look Who's Talking, which made $297 million, that Travolta made his big comeback. Through all these ups and downs in his career, Travolta's commitment to Scientology never wavered, but behind the scenes, the church was worried about potentially losing their most valuable celebrity member. By this point, Travolta had undergone countless auditing sessions where members are asked deeply personal questions while holding metal cans connected to a device called an e-meter. What Travolta didn't know at the time, according to former members of the church, was that these confessional sessions were being recorded. Bill Franks, a former executive at the church, told Time magazine that in his view, the church had Travolta cornered. There was even a point where Travolta reportedly asked Franks for reassurance that his private confessions wouldn't be used against him. But, unknown to him, the church had already been gathering material on him, preparing a dead agent pack, a file of potentially damaging information to use if he ever left or spoke out. In 1991, Travolta married actress Kelly Preston, who had first been introduced to Scientology in 1985 by her acting coach, Milton Casellas. Together they had 3 kids: Jet, Ella Blue, and Benjamin. Both Travolta and Preston remained active Scientologists throughout their marriage. In 1997, Preston told People magazine that Scientology creates ways to handle everything, whether it's in your love life or in your work. The 90s marked a major comeback for Travolta. His role as Vincent Vega in Quentin Tarantino's Pulp Fiction was iconic, earning him another Academy Award nomination and solidifying him as an A-list star once again. This newfound success made him even more valuable to Scientology, which loved having him as a public face of the religion. Around this time, there was another actor who was making a big splash, not just in Hollywood but also within Scientology: Tom Cruise. He got involved with Scientology in the late 80s, supposedly thanks to his first wife, Mimi Rogers. While Travolta had been the church's big star for over a decade, Cruise quickly rose to become one of the biggest stars on the planet. As the 90s went on, Scientology's leadership, especially David Miscavige, started to focus more on Cruise. Former Scientologists have said that Miscavige would go out of his way to pamper Cruise, even assigning teams of Sea Org members to renovate his homes, customize his cars, and basically cater to his every whim. According to these insiders, Cruise and Miscavige formed a close relationship that went beyond the typical leader-follower dynamic. For Travolta, this shift in attention must have been hard to ignore, but he continued to publicly support Scientology. In a 1998 interview with the Tampa Bay Times, he defended the church, saying, "I haven't experienced anything that the hearsayers claimed, so why would I communicate something that wasn't true for me? It wouldn't make sense, nor would it for Tom, I imagine." But while Travolta's career was on the up, his family life took an unimaginable turn. In 2009, his son Jet passed away at just 16 while the family was on vacation in the Bahamas. Jet, who had autism and suffered from seizures, tragically hit his head on a bathtub during a seizure. In the aftermath of this heartbreaking loss, Travolta once again leaned on Scientology for support. "I don't know what I would have done if I hadn't had the support of Scientology," Travolta said in an interview with The Telegraph. Death visited him again in 2020 when Kelly Preston passed away at 57 after a 2-year battle with breast cancer. After this, Travolta shared on Instagram that he'd be stepping back from his career to focus on his kids. And during all of this, Tom Cruise had become the most visible and vocal advocate for Scientology. While Travolta stayed involved and occasionally spoke positively about the church, it was Cruise who really took the spotlight with his passionate promotion. We all remember him jumping on Oprah's couch in 2005.
Tom, we've never seen you behave this way before.
I know.
Have you ever felt this way before?
And getting into that intense debate about psychiatry with Matt Lauer the same year.
Before I was a Scientologist, I never agreed with psychiatry. And then when I started studying the history of psychiatry, I started realizing more and more why I didn't agree with psychiatry.
Then by the 2010s, rumors started to swirl that Travolta's relationship with Scientology might be shifting. Some reports suggested he was what Scientologists call off course, still a member in good standing, still paying his dues, but no longer actively involved in courses or auditing. In 2023, rumors circulated that Travolta had begun to edge away from Scientology, though he has neither confirmed nor denied these claims. But it doesn't really matter anymore. The church had moved on. They had their new golden boy in Tom Cruise, younger, louder, more reckless, and infinitely more willing to put himself out there for the cause. Travolta remained a member on paper, trapped by the mountains of personal information they'd collected on him over decades of auditing sessions. But he was essentially a relic of Scientology's past. The torch had been passed. And Tom Cruise? He was the upgrade the church had been looking for all along.